Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another podcast series. I'm your host, Dhanashri Valunchkar, a research assistant at CENJOWS, and our topic for deliberation today is the Arsenal of Autonomy, decoding the DNA of Indian defense procurement. In recent years, the character of conflict has changed, and with that, the demands on a nation's ability to arm, equip, and sustain its own forces have changed too. From the wars in West Asia to the contested sea lanes in the Strait of Hormuz, the fragile global supply chains, to the accelerating pace of military technology, self-reliance has become a defining strategic priority. For India, a rising power with a fast growing and increasingly capable defense industrial base, this is both an opportunity and a responsibility. The opportunity to build genuine strategic autonomy and the responsibility to lead the way in equipping its forces with the world-class indigenous capability. To unpack these dynamics, I am joined by distinguished soldier and technocrat who has shaped the country's capability development from within. Please welcome Lieutenant General Sudarshan Shrikant Hasabnis, PVSM, VSM, ADC, retired. He is a highly decorated, experienced, and accomplished general officer who retired as the deputy chief of Army Staff, effectively the third senior most officer in the Army. General Hasabnis belongs to one of the most famous and prestigious army families in Pune. His father, known to be the original hero of Galwan, who commanded a company of 5 Jat at Galwan during the 1962 war and defended it till the last man against a far superior Chinese force. Lieutenant General Hasabnis has done his schooling from the Gyan Prabodhini Prashala, Pune. In an NDA alumnus, he was commissioned into the Bombay Sappers. An accomplished paratrooper, he took part in the Operation Vijay, the Kargil operations, and commanded an engineer regiment of a strike corps during Operation Parakram. He commanded a Rashtriya Rifles sector as a brigadier in J&K, an infantry division along the western border, and the prestigious Mountain Strike Corps. He has held many staff appointments, including Brigade Major, Mountain Strike Corps, including Brigade Major, Brigadier, Quartermaster of a Corps, and Technical Manager, Land Systems, in the Ministry of Defense. As the Chief of Army Staff for Planning and Systems, he was closely associated with the perspective planning, capability development of Army, and the development of defense technology in collaboration with DRDO, industry, and academia. Highly decorated, Lieutenant General Hasabnis was awarded the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, the highest award for the distinguished service, in addition to the Vishisht Seva Medal. An inspirational personality, a technocrat, soldier, strategic thinker, and a fitness enthusiast, he is also an avid cyclist and a trustee in an Environment Conservation Association in Pune. He has authored a book on Operation Sindoor and is currently working on a book on the absorption of technology in the Army. A very warm welcome to you, sir. It is an honor to have you with us. Without any delay, let's get to the questions.
Thank you, Dhanashri. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. And let me see how much I can add to your research and discussion that is taking place. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. A lot of insight coming in. Sir, you've personally overseen capital procurement for the Army. Yeah. Setting aside the delays that everyone really talks about, what are the 3 hidden friction points one could understand that quietly delay this induction of equipment?
Firstly, what you call as friction points, I would like to characterize them as challenges.
Okay.
So, to me, if I were to put together the 3 most salient challenges that face our procurement procedure, the first and foremost is the risk-averse governance that permeates our entire system. The need for procedural correctness rather than capability acquisition is something that has gone deep into the mindset of all those who operate our capability development ecosystem. The fear of audit, vigilance, and procedural scrutiny at a later date is something that discourages these officers from taking decisions in a timely manner. This no risk mindset is known to be prevalent and therefore favors delay rather than taking a decision which could be called as a bold decision. No one wants the CAG, the CVC, the CBI to be calling on their doors later when they have demitted the offices they are holding today. And therefore, the primary outlook of everyone is to make the procedure and the decisions that they make audit proof, that no one has any issues subsequently. Mind you, this is not only the civil bureaucracy, but it equally applies to the military bureaucratic ecosystem also. In fact, Mr. Parikar, late Mr. Parikar, our ex-Raksha Mantri, had characterized the entire process as the finance tail wagging the capability dog. I think that summarizes this issue of risk-averse governance. I strongly feel there is a very basic need of a statutory protection that needs to be provided to the officers who are manning the defense procurement ecosystem, so that they do not have to worry about decisions taken in good faith which would come back to haunt them at a subsequent date. The other aspects are not as critical as the first one, though assured funding is one area where there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Over a period of time, non-lapsable defense budget has been discussed and a lot of decisions in this regard have been taken. However, it's never been implemented. The L1 financial trap, which overrides the technical value of equipment, is something which again is related to this funding problem. Because of the very limited funds that are made available, you are only looking at the least costly item, which is basically just meeting the qualitative requirements that have been spelled out. So this is the second thing that I feel. And lastly, in the three things that you mentioned, fragmented decision making, where a large number of bodies that are involved in the overall ecosystem, everyone has a stake in it, everyone is a part of the decision making matrix, but there is no one single agency which takes the responsibility and therefore accountability of the entire system. So to me, all these fall under one head, that is political will. If we have the political will, which will be the final determinant in putting together all these three things into one basket and taking corrective measures to overcome these challenges, to change the mindset that has been, in fact, our Prime Minister on the floor of the Parliament in February 21 had very distinctly said that the mindset of showing the private sector in poor light needs to be changed, because they are the wealth creators. They need to be given their place of pride. And that's how a newer generation will join them and would want to go that way. So I feel if political will to change these three aspects is really put to force, things can change very rapidly.
Definitely. That's a really interesting take on it. Now that brings me to another question on how do we solve the trial and testing bottleneck. where equipment can sit in trials for a substantial duration? And does the proposed DAP 2026 address any of these concerns?
It's a very good question, and for a long time it has been tom-tommed as something that the military has been responsible for. However, I will go back to the first reply of mine. The procedure has been so worked out that it is totally sequential. Unless the first step is completed, cleared by various levels of authorities, you can't go to the next stage. The very trial and testing requirement is actually split into two parts, which is really not known. The first part is the paper technical evaluation, and then you go to the physical. After the technical evaluation, paper technical evaluation is completed, only then, only those who clear this are taken to the next stage, which is the physical evaluation. So what my experience has been is that vendors and developers, or whatever you may call them, they wait for the clearance of the first stage, first level, that is the paper evaluation, and only then start working on preparing their equipment for the trials. If we can do these two concurrently, then those who are actually ready for the trials will only bring their equipment immediately, while the paper evaluation is on. If the physical testing, which could be done concurrently in a modular way, will help in reducing the timeline. In fact, trials is not only the military which is involved in it. The DGQA is hugely an important functionary which evaluates equipment. If the framing of the GSQRs and the trial methodology has been discussed with the vendors in advance, they know exactly what are the qualitative requirements and how will each be evaluated. So they are prepared for it ab initio, rather than them coming up with issues at a subsequent date. So this is something which needs to be implemented in a big way. I'm sure there's a lot of work happening in this, but if we are still not able to get through the trials in a quick timeline, there is furthermore need for this. Simulation is another aspect which we still don't have adequate labs where simulated environment can be created for testing of equipment. If that is available, then you don't need to wait for temperature conditions and weather conditions to test the parameters which are supposed to be tested in very extreme weather conditions and temperature conditions. So if we have labs, we don't have to wait for that weather condition to be available and therefore postponing a trial to a particular date. So these are some of the aspects which could be incorporated. The DAP 2026, which is still in a draft form, it's not yet been finalized, does have some very path-breaking new suggestions that have been made, and I am quite hopeful that some of them will really get implemented. So that is one aspect of our entire edifice, that we have a lot of policy, but our implementation is something which always leads us into a very deep, dark alley. Anyway, this DAP 2026 supposedly is talking about a TRL based categorization. That means depending on where the development stage is of a particular equipment, they will the categorization, whether it will be a make or a buy and make or a buy global from a direct OEM outside, will be decided based on what is the status in India of the equipment that is being looked at. So that will reduce the requirement of trials in a substantive manner. There is a two-stage trial that has also been visualized, wherein certain parameters will only be tested at the first stage,
Okay.
and not all, only those very crucial parameters, and the rest would be left to be evaluated post the contract has been signed.
Okay.
So that will also crunch the trial time. There is something called low cost capital acquisition, where in fact items which are costing low but their turnover of technology is of a very high order, like drones or cyber, or those are now being proposed to be given to the military officers, to the delegation of financial powers for these being made to the military officers, which is expected to speed up the overall procurement process. Another aspect which has been, I believe, incorporated is the vendor compensation. Even if he doesn't become L1, as long as the vendor gets the equipment which has cleared the trials, he will be compensated for having bought the equipment to the trials, and he will be given that certification also, because it's been known that whatever the Indian Army certifies as being good for the Army has a lot of weight in our friendly foreign countries, in our foreign markets. So to that extent, if a vendor gets compensated, because they do end up putting a lot of resources, developing the equipment and bringing it for trials, moving it from A to B, etc., etc. If they know that they will be compensated if the equipment succeeds in the trials and loses out in the L1 in the financial part, they will get compensated. More will come up with equipment. So these are, I'm sure, very path-breaking, good initiatives. My only hope is that it really comes out quickly and is rolled out and is then followed through in letter and spirit, in full gusto.
I'm sure the aspects that you highlighted will be reaching to the right audience through our podcast. That brings me to the next question on how has your assessment of IDEX been in bringing up startup-led innovation to the front line, and can the same ecosystem, especially drones and cyber that you mentioned, become something that Indian exports to Gulf partners are facing hybrid threats for? So, what would be your take?
First and foremost, the IDEX has been a transformational idea that has been implemented. There's no doubt about that part.
Right.
It has done great amount of work in connecting startups with users, and also providing them very early funding so that they can successfully develop their ideas and field them up to the prototype stage. A lot of work in drones, AI, robotics, and in cyber has happened already in this field through the modus of IDEX. In fact, with the latest avatars of IDEX, Aditi and such like, which give more funding to strategic ideas and technologies, I'm sure there's a lot that the Indian Defence Forces stand to gain. The problem with IDEX, why just IDEX? Any development today is not so much the development part which is happening. It is the productionization which is really becoming a stumbling block. From the prototype to induction into the military is where the problem is actually coming in, because there are no the pathways for conversion of a prototype into an item which is introduced by way of assured orders or assured funding for taking it to that stage is something which I believe work is at hand. DAP 2026 is supposed to be focusing on this. It's given out some issues which cover this this gap, but it is a very serious lacking, anything, not just IDEX, development through any mode of a new prototype getting into productionization is a major issue. Definitely asymmetric threats that are being faced by us as well as our friendly countries in the Gulf will find solutions in the IDEX. IDEX is coming up with mature. This ecosystem has really matured in a big way, and problem statements from Gulf states can definitely be addressed by our startup MSME ecosystem through the IDEX mode. And I'm sure this will be a very cost effective method of doing defense cooperation with our friends across borders, especially in the Middle East and Gulf. Yeah. So to that extent, it has a lot of advantages. One I mentioned was cost effectiveness, and there are no strings attached to whatever we may develop, which is something which most other countries, especially the Western countries, have, whether it is ITAR or whatever. There are restrictions that get placed on exports to countries. If we get these friends to join hands in also funding these research programs, much larger cooperation can take place.
That's really a wonderful take, and a lot for us to evaluate and analyze eventually. What is the one procurement reform you would believe would be like a genuine force multiplier for the Army's acquisition speed? And at the same time, how would it also sharpen India's ability to deliver to foreign buyers on time?
In your first question, I did mention about some things. To me, our entire outlook towards capability acquisition is predicated on procedural integrity and not so much on capability acquisition. So the integrity of the procedure trumps the capability acquisition. If there is a minor deviation from the procedure, the entire process is brought to a standstill and taken back to square one, square zero, from where it has to restart. If we can address this issue, which many democratic countries have addressed in very ingenious ways, we can continue with the procurement process. If someone has done something wrong, there could be ways of penalizing them rather than shutting the complete process and going back to the drawing board. So this aspect of prioritizing capability over procedure is something which I feel is a change in the mindset that is required to be implemented. It again will go back to the political will, the will of the nation, which has to come into effect and be behind this entire edifice of our ecosystem for capability development. So to me, if we look at capabilities not as procedures, not at procedures as priority, I'm sure the entire process will speed up. And one of our major weaknesses seen by foreign buyers is delays, is not being able to produce equipment on time and qualities. If we are able to look at this issue in the manner that I'm saying, the entire process will get speeded up. Accountability will become properly addressed, and we should be able to get quality equipment in time, which is what anyone who's wanting to buy is looking for. So I'm sure if we address this very basic issue of a mindset change, I have no doubts that you can see our Pinaka or Brahmos, they are doing so well in the foreign markets. We are exporting. In fact, the private industry is a much smaller component of our defense ecosystem, but it is doing much more in terms of exports than the DPSUs. I believe only in the last year the DPSUs have caught up because of some major equipment sales that have taken place. But otherwise, it's the private industry which is taking the lead in exports. So if we have a integrated program management which runs the entire thing, I'm sure we will have many more buyers standing at our doors to buy Indian equipment, which will have quality without strings.
But that brings me to an add-on from your conversation, that from the answer that you just delivered. I think that the audience would have a key takeaway as credibility and accountability to go hand in hand. But given today's geopolitical arena of the current West Asian crisis, how will theaterization in a way help reduce the variety of equipment across the services and optimize existing inventory, cutting down on import reliance, focusing on the Atmanirbhar aspect that we do prophesize? And does that same standardization make India a more interoperable partner in joint exercises? It now runs with Oman, Saudi Arabia and the UAE.
Surely, it's a very, very good question, and theaterization will definitely reduce the diversity of the equipment. The same equipment being used by the three services, it will harmonize our capability planning, which is the basis from where the entire procurement or capability acquisition starts. If that capability planning itself gets harmonized, it will lead into logistics and procurement across services getting harmonized. So to that extent, theaterization is a very important step if taken, and maybe yesterday. I'm sure it will make a huge difference in the way we look at our capability development and process the entire thing. Joint capability planning will avoid, like you mentioned, duplication, definitely. And it will also, like you rightly mentioned, optimize the inventory that we hold. All three services, for example, operate drones, and they operate the medium altitude, long endurance drones. And we've been procuring them, all three services have been procuring them from foreign vendors till now. Now, of course, there are Indian vendors who are coming up with new versions of indigenously manufactured, if not developed fully, male hail drones. We've been buying them as different projects, whereas the basic platform is same. It's only the applications that ride on it which are different. If we put together the quantitative advantage in being able to negotiate prices and getting something more in the same rupee spent would be a major success that we will achieve through theaterization. So to that extent, the theaterization will have a major impact. And if we can integrate within India, all three services are operating with our friendly countries from the Gulf.
Yes.
All three services.
Right.
If we have the same equipment being showcased while interacting with these countries, I'm sure we will be able to convince them the efficacy of those equipment, and therefore making them want to also partake in, if it is development or procurement of that equipment. So I have no doubt that common equipment within these services will strengthen our export appeal to our friendly countries. So I have no doubts. These will cut down life cycle costs, ammunition requirements, and the entire gamut of logistics and maintenance will be able to be synergized in a manner that we exploit the equipment at a much cheaper cost and get better dividends from the equipment for us, as also showcase it to our friends that this equipment can not just be used by one service, all three services can use the equipment and make it so much more attractive for these countries to procure that equipment.
Definitely. That brings us to the end of a rich and wide-ranging conversation today. My sincere thanks to Lieutenant General Sudarshan Hasabnis for sharing his experience and insight with us today. And a heartfelt thank you to all the listeners for their time, attention, and for being a part of this conversation. Until next time, keep following CENJOWS. Jai Hind.
Thank you. I am very happy that I was here today and was able to contribute in your research. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It means a lot.